Analyzing electrical pricing involves several potential factors. Firstly, consider the local market. Prices may vary significantly depending on the location and competition. It's crucial to research the prevailing rates in your area. Secondly, the quality of materials. Ensure you're using high-quality materials, as this can impact the perceived value of your services. Thirdly, experience and qualifications. Your level of experience, certifications, and reputation can all influence your pricing. Fourthly, customer service. Excellent customer service can differentiate you from competitors and justify higher prices. Fifthly, fixed costs. Consider your overhead costs, such as insurance, equipment, and labor. Sixthly, negotiation. Be prepared to negotiate and offer discounts or incentives for larger projects or loyal customers. In terms of commentary, for new construction, prices are often within an average range. However, some items may be slightly higher than the market average, such as ceiling fan installations or recessed light installations. For remodels, a 25% increase for remodels may be reasonable, as these projects often require additional labor and can involve unforeseen challenges. It is important to consider your fixed costs. Ensure they are adequately covered in your pricing. If you are using high-quality materials and providing excellent customer service, you may be able to justify your prices. Consider being flexible with your pricing for larger projects or repeat customers. Here are some recommendations to improve profitability. Firstly, conduct a thorough market analysis to compare your prices to competitors. Secondly, review your material costs and ensure you're using quality products. Thirdly, highlight your experience, certifications, and customer service as differentiators. Fourthly, be prepared to negotiate and offer incentives when necessary. Fifthly, monitor your profitability and adjust your prices as needed to ensure financial stability. Electrical work pricing is a complex process involving many different factors. Electrical contractors need to find the right balance between competitive pricing and profitability. Firstly, consider direct costs. Direct costs are the expenses directly related to completing an electrical job. These include the cost of materials, labor, and any subcontractors you hire. Materials include all the electrical components you use, such as wire, conduit, boxes, devices, and fixtures. Labor costs include the wages you pay yourself and any employees who work on the job. Subcontractor costs are the fees you pay to other tradespeople, such as plumbers or carpenters, who assist with the project. Secondly, consider overhead costs. Overhead costs are the expenses you incur to run your electrical business, regardless of whether you have any active jobs. These include rent or mortgage payments for your office or shop, utilities, insurance, vehicle expenses, advertising, and administrative costs. You must allocate a portion of your overhead costs to each job to ensure that your business is profitable. Thirdly, consider profit margin. Profit margin is the percentage of revenue that remains after you have paid all your expenses. Your profit margin should be high enough to compensate you for your time, effort, and risk, and to allow you to reinvest in your business. A typical profit margin for electrical contractors is between 10% and 20%, but this can vary depending on the size and complexity of the job. Calculating your direct costs is relatively straightforward. Simply add up the cost of all the materials, labor, and subcontractors required for the job. Estimating your overhead costs can be more challenging. You need to determine your total overhead expenses for a given period, such as a month or a year, and then allocate a portion of those expenses to each job. One way to do this is to calculate your overhead rate, which is your total overhead expenses divided by your total direct labor costs. For example, if your total overhead expenses for the year are $50,000 and your total direct labor costs are $100,000, your overhead rate is 50%. This means that for every dollar you spend on direct labor, you need to add 50 cents to cover your overhead expenses. Once you have calculated your direct costs and your overhead rate, you can use these figures to determine your bid price for a job. To do this, simply add your direct costs, your overhead costs, and your desired profit margin. For example, If your direct costs for a job are $1,000, your overhead rate is 50%, and your desired profit margin is 20%, your bid price would be $1,800. This calculation ensures that you will cover all your expenses and earn a reasonable profit. Several factors can affect your electrical pricing. These include the following. Firstly, consider competition. The level of competition in your area can affect your pricing. If there are many electrical contractors bidding on the same jobs, you may need to lower your prices to be competitive. However, you should not lower your prices so much that you are not covering your costs and earning a profit. Secondly, consider the economy. The state of the economy can also affect your pricing. In a strong economy, people are more likely to spend money on home improvements and new construction, which can drive up demand for electrical services. In a weak economy, people may be more hesitant to spend money, which can lead to lower prices. Thirdly, consider the scope of work. The scope of work for a job can also affect your pricing. A job that is complex or requires a lot of specialized skills will typically cost more than a job that is simple or straightforward. Fourthly, consider the location. The location of the job can also affect your pricing. Jobs in urban areas typically cost more than jobs in rural areas due to higher labor costs and material costs. Fifthly, consider the customer. The customer's budget and expectations can also affect your pricing. Some customers are willing to pay more for high-quality work, while others are looking for the lowest possible price. It is important to be clear about your pricing and to set realistic expectations with your customers. Market research is essential for determining competitive electrical pricing. You should research the rates that other electrical contractors in your area are charging for similar services. You can do this by calling other contractors and asking for quotes, or by searching online for pricing information. It is also important to stay up to date on the latest trends in the electrical industry. This includes changes in material costs, labor costs, and new technologies. You can stay up to date on these trends by reading trade publications, attending industry events, and networking with other electrical contractors. Negotiation is an important part of the electrical pricing process. You should be prepared to negotiate with your customers on price, scope of work, and payment terms. However, you should never compromise on quality or safety to win a job. It is important to have a clear understanding of your cost and your profit margin, and to be able to justify your pricing to your customers. Effective cost control is essential for maintaining profitability in your electrical business. You should track your expenses carefully and look for ways to reduce costs without compromising quality or safety. This may include negotiating better prices with your suppliers, improving your efficiency, and reducing waste. Customer service is also important for maintaining profitability. Happy customers are more likely to recommend you to others and to use your services again in the future. You should provide excellent customer service by being prompt, professional, and courteous. You should also be responsive to your customers' needs and concerns. You can use a variety of strategies to increase your electrical business's profitability. These include the following. Firstly, focus on high-profit jobs. Not all jobs are created equal. Some jobs are more profitable than others. You should focus on bidding on jobs that have a high profit margin. Secondly, offer value-added services. You can increase your profitability by offering value-added services such as energy audits, home automation, and electrical safety inspections. These services can help you to differentiate yourself from your competitors and to charge higher prices. Thirdly, build relationships with customers. Building strong relationships with your customers can lead to repeat business and referrals. You should make an effort to get to know your customers and to understand their needs. Fourthly, invest in marketing. Marketing can help you to attract new customers and to grow your business. You should invest in a variety of marketing activities, such as advertising, public relations, and online marketing. Consider the NEC, or National Electrical Code. The NEC provides guidelines for safe electrical installations. Adhering to NEC standards protects both the electrician and the homeowner. Understanding NEC requirements can also help to justify pricing, as code-compliant work often requires more time and materials. For example, NEC Table 310.15b16 provides ampacity ratings for conductors. Using the correct wire size according to this table ensures safety, but may also increase material costs. Similarly, ground fault circuit interrupter, or GFCI, protection is required in many locations. The cost of GFCI receptacles or breakers must be factored into the pricing. Voltage drop calculations are also crucial. The NEC recommends limiting voltage drop to 3% for branch circuits and 5% for feeders. Correcting voltage drop issues can increase material costs, but ensures proper equipment operation and prevents overheating. In residential electrical work, various types of wiring methods are commonly used. Each wiring method has its own advantages and disadvantages in terms of cost, ease of installation, and suitability for different applications. Non-metallic sheath cable, commonly known as NM cable or Romex, is one of the most widely used wiring methods in residential construction. It consists of two or more insulated conductors enclosed within a non-metallic jacket. NM cable is relatively inexpensive, easy to install, and suitable for dry locations. However, it is not permitted in wet or damp locations or in exposed locations where it could be subject to physical damage. Electrical metallic tubing, or EMT, is a metallic raceway that provides mechanical protection for conductors. EMT is commonly used in commercial and industrial applications, but it can also be used in residential construction, particularly in areas where the wiring is exposed or subject to physical damage. EMT is more expensive than NM cable, but it offers better protection against physical damage and can be used in wet or damp locations. Flexible metal conduit, or FMC, is a flexible metallic raceway that is used to connect electrical boxes and equipment. FMC is often used in short runs where flexibility is required, such as connecting a motor or a light fixture. FMC is more expensive than NM cable, but it is easier to install in tight spaces. Rigid metal conduit, or RMC, is a heavy-walled metallic raceway that provides maximum protection for conductors. RMC is typically used in commercial and industrial applications where the wiring is subject to severe physical damage or corrosive environments. RMC is the most expensive type of wiring method, but it offers the best protection. Armored cable, or AC cable, is a type of cable that consists of insulated conductors enclosed within a flexible metallic sheath. AC cable is similar to FMC, but it provides a higher level of protection against physical damage. AC cable is often used in remodeling projects where it is difficult to run new wiring through walls or ceilings. When estimating the cost of materials for an electrical job, it is important to consider the type of wiring method that will be used. NM cable is typically the least expensive option, while RMC is the most expensive. The choice of wiring method will depend on the specific requirements of the job, including the location, the environment, and the level of protection required. In addition to the wiring method, there are several other factors that can affect the cost of materials for an electrical job. These include the size and type of conductors, the number of outlets and switches, the type of lighting fixtures, and the type of electrical panel. The size of the conductors will depend on the amperage of the circuit. Larger conductors are more expensive than smaller conductors. The type of conductors will also affect the cost. Copper conductors are more expensive than aluminum conductors, but they offer better conductivity and are less prone to corrosion. The number of outlets and switches will also affect the cost. Each outlet and switch requires a box, a cover plate, and wiring. The type of lighting fixtures will also affect the cost. Some lighting fixtures are more expensive than others. The type of electrical panel will also affect the cost. Larger electrical panels are more expensive than smaller electrical panels. When estimating the cost of labor for an electrical job, it is important to consider the complexity of the job, the experience of the electrician, and the prevailing wage rates in the area. More complex jobs will require more labor than simpler jobs. Experienced electricians typically charge more per hour than less experienced electricians. The prevailing wage rates in the area will also affect the cost of labor. In some areas, electricians are paid more than in other areas. When estimating the total cost of an electrical job, it is important to add a markup to cover our overhead costs and profit. Overhead costs include expenses such as insurance, vehicle expenses, and office expenses. Profit is the amount of money that the electrician earns on the job. The markup will vary depending on the electrician's overhead costs and desired profit margin. By carefully considering all of these factors, you can develop accurate and competitive electrical pricing that will help you to win bids and make a profit.